Happy 5th anniversary. Fewer than 10% of pilots and aircraft mechanics are women. These are their stories of tenacity, adventure, and courage. Stories with the power to inspire, heal, and connect. Welcome to the literary Aviatrix community, where we leverage the power of story to build and celebrate our community and inspire the next generation of aviation. This December, we're celebrating 5 years together, and I would love for you to join the celebration. It's been 5 years of the Literary Aviatrix platform, a website built for our community, a place where you can search and discover books featuring women in aviation and space. 5 years of author interviews with and about aviation heroines and trailblazers, astronauts, airline pilots, military veterans, aerobatic champions, record setters, and award-winning best-selling authors across every genre and age range. 5 years of talking about writing and publishing, sharing the tools and knowledge that help aspiring writers tell their stories well, and making sure our collective narratives reach the widest possible audience. 5 years of in-person events, book launches, readings, receptions, signings, and giveaways. 5 years of promoting our stories across social media, amplifying our sisters' voices, inspiring readers, and our authors, cross-promoting each other's work in ways that truly lift the whole community. 5 years of youth outreach events with hundreds of young people engaging with our stories. 5 years of Aviatrix book club discussions, 60 months, 64 books, 60 opportunities to learn from each other's experiences, insights, and wisdom. 5 years of connection and friendship, rooted in our shared tenacity, adventure, and courage. Whether you've been with us since the beginning or you just found us, I'd love to hear what this community has meant to you. Send me a short testimonial to share with the community. Nothing is too small or too big. You can DM me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, or email me at lizbooker@literaryaviatrix.com. And now, as always, we have another great lineup of discussion books for 2026. The hardest part every year is narrowing the selections down to 12. I already have books lined up for 2027, and if there are any you've been dying to read or discuss, send me a note. I'll go through all of the titles first, and then I'll go back through the list and read the blurbs to you. In January, we have American Sky, a novel by Carolyn Dasher. In February, Ditching the Sky, a memoir of triumph against all odds by Heidi A. Porch. March, Spitfires, the American Women Who Flew in the Face of Danger During World War II by Becky Aikman. April, Why Fly? Seeking Awe, Healing, and Our True Selves in the Sky by Caroline Paul, due for release on February 24th, 2026. May, Mavis Perkins, Flying Journalist by Cindy Wigand. June, The Aviator and the Showman, Amelia Earhart, George Putnam, and the Marriage That Made an American Icon by Lori Gwen Shapiro. July, Lady MacGyver, Unbelievable Stories with Altitude by Michelle Huntington. August, Fearless, Harriet Quimby, A Life Without Limit by Don Daler. September, Flight Path of Fortitude, Breaking Barriers, Building Horizons by Olga Custodio. In October, we'll discuss Catherine, the Wright Sister, a novel by Tracy Anderson Wood. November, The Women with Silver Wings, the inspiring true story of the women Air Force service pilots of World War II by Catherine Sharp Landeck. December, Atmosphere, a love story by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So that's the list, and now I'll go through the blurbs for those of you who want to hear more about them. In January, American Sky by Carolyn Dasher. Three generations of indomitable women navigate life on their terms in an epic and inspiring historical novel about love and war, family secrets, and mothers and daughters finding the freedom to fly. It's 1943. The war rages. The newly launched WASP program is recruiting, and Barnstormer fan Georgianne George Ector's dream is to take to the skies. Grit is what she inherited from her mother, an Oklahoma farm girl at the turn of the century who preferred taking apart an engine to stitching linens for a hope chest. She taught her daughter well. George isn't the only woman about to follow her calling. Vivian Shaw, so similar to George, they're like sisters, also longs for a career flying the fastest planes in the American arsenal. For a time, George and Vivian triumph, but at war's end, the adventurous women are grounded by the expectations of others to get married, have children, and raise a family. Vivian has other plans. So eventually do George's daughters, Ruth and Ivy, who embark on very different paths of their own. Three generations of women staring down a vast horizon of possibilities are determined to navigate whatever comes their way, from the hardships of war and home to love and loss, into the fallout of a long held secret that could change their lives forever. In February, we have Ditching the Sky by Heidi A. Porch. Heidi's story is extraordinary. Imagine being 540 miles from land with nothing but water in sight, and then experiencing every pilot's worst nightmare, a complete engine failure. Heidi's fixed gear Cessna bounced off the ocean's surface, flipped onto its back, and began to sink. What followed was a 9-hour ordeal, battling 10-foot seas in a tiny life raft, with the shadow of the Cold War looming as she was finally rescued by a Soviet vessel. Her story is not only one of survival, but of aspirations realized, love found and then lost, and how childhood trauma became a source of strength to be called upon. It is a harrowing tale of courage, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. In March, we'll discuss Spitfires by Becky Aikman. They were crop dusters and debutantes, college girls and performers in flying circuses, all of them trained as pilots. Because they were women, they could not fly for their country when the United States entered the Second World War. But Great Britain was desperate for transport pilots, even American ones, and even women. Thus, in 1942, 25 daring young aviators bolted for England, becoming the first American women to command military aircraft. In a faraway land, these Spitfires lived like women decades ahead of their time, risking their lives in one of the deadliest jobs of the war. They ferried new, barely tested fighters and bombers to air bases and returned shot up wrecks for repair, never knowing what might go wrong until they were in the sky. The pilots broke new ground off duty as well, shocking their hosts with thoroughly modern behavior. With cinematic sweep, Becky Aikman brings to life 9 of these forgotten heroines, drawing on unpublished diaries, letters, and records, along with her own interviews. Spitfires is a vivid, richly detailed account of war, ambition, and a group of remarkable women whose lives were as unconventional as their dreams. In April, we're reading Why Fly by Carolyn Paul. From the New York Times best-selling author Carolyn Paul, a thrilling, gravity-defying book that takes us skyward to explore the art of aeronautics and the depths of the human heart. Flying has long represented the beautiful, high-stakes human drive to invent, to explore, to experience. Carolyn Paul has known this since becoming a pilot at 20 years old. Now she's in her 50s, and her long-term marriage is dissolving beneath her. She begins to fly a gyrocopter. Isn't it easier to learn a landing than a human heart? As Paul examines the descent of love through the ascent of flight, she turns her eye to the history, the physics, and the deep impact of flying on others. From the brave night witches who flew biplanes against the Nazis to the ultralight pilots who believe they can save endangered birds by becoming one of the flock, to the many people afraid to step on a passenger plane, Why Fly examines the ways flight, like love, confounds and yet transforms us. Often we soar, but we also crash land. Still we want to fly. Why? In May, we have Mavis Perkins by Cindy Wigand. In the roaring 20s, Mavis is living a life that is the envy of her friends. She's earned her pilot's license, and the newspaper she started is doing well. Working during the week, she flies airplanes on evenings and weekends. Off hours, she and her flying pals, the snooty Skylarks, gather for hangar flying. She takes every opportunity to cover the aviation scene on Long Island. When she falls for a dashing aviator with an elite flying group, her life becomes complicated. They are worlds apart, a society girl from New York and a vagabond of the air from a small town. But that combination proves to be part of the intrigue, and their relationship makes for a wild and thrilling ride that touches both their lives in ways neither could have expected. In June, we have The Aviator and the Showman by Lori Gwen Shapiro. The riveting and cinematic story of a partnership that would change the world forever. In 1928, a young social worker and hobby pilot named Amelia Earhart arrived in the office of George Putnam, heir to the Putnam and Sons throne and hitmaker, on the hunt for the right woman for a secret flying mission across the Atlantic. A partnership, professional and soon otherwise, was born. The Aviator and the Showman unveils the untold story of Amelia's decade-long marriage to George Putnam, offering an intimate exploration of their relationship and the pivotal role it played in her enduring legacy. Despite her outwardly modest and humble image, Amelia was fiercely driven and impossibly brave, a lifelong feminist and trailblazer in her personal and professional life. Putnam, the so-called P.T. Barnum of publishing, was a book-selling visionary, but often pushed his authors to extreme lengths in the name of publicity, and no one bore that weight more than Amelia. Their ahead-of-its-time partnership supported her grand ambitions, but also pressured her into more and more treacherous stunts to promote her books, influencing a certain recklessness up to and including her final flight. Earhart is a captivating figure to many, but the truth about her life is often overshadowed by myth and legend. In this cinematic new account, Lori Gwen Shapiro emphasizes Earhart's multifaceted human side, her struggles, and her authentic aspirations, the truths behind her brave pursuits, and the compromises she made to fit into societal expectations. Drawing from a trove of new sources, including undiscovered audio interviews, The Aviator and the Showman is a gripping and passionate tale of adventure, colorful characters, hubris, and a complex and a vivid portrait of a marriage that shaped the trajectory of an iconic life. In July, we'll discuss Lady MacGyver. From the cockpit of a Boeing 737 to the sun-kissed shores of Kiribati, Lady MacGyver is a remarkable memoir of grit, courage, and sky-high ambition. Michelle Huntington's dream of flight took root at the age of 7, and against all odds, she became one of just 500 female airline captains worldwide. Over 2 decades, she's flown solo across vast oceans, landed on rugged outback strips, and even survived a lightning strike mid-flight. Michelle's journey through the aviation world is anything but conventional. She navigates a turbulent path, sidestepping naysayers and confronting systemic barriers. Through it all, she proves that, with MacGyver-style ingenuity and maybe a touch of insanity, no challenge is insurmountable. Told with sharp wit and unflinching candor, Lady MacGyver is packed with exhilarating adventures and powerful insights into resilience and resourcefulness. Today, Michelle channels her experiences beyond the cockpit, speaking globally on neuroplasticity and mindset transformation, helping others face adversity and embrace change with clarity and conviction. More than a memoir, Lady MacGyver is an inspiring tale of rising above limitations and, when the going gets tough, finding the strength to soar. In August, we have Fearless by Dawn Daylor. In the spirit of the bestseller Fly Girls comes the definitive and compelling true story of Harriet Quimby, the first American woman to receive a pilot's license. In the early 20th century, headlines declared that the era of women has dawned. Against this changing historical backdrop, Harriet Quimby's extraordinary life stands out as the embodiment of this tumultuous, exciting era when flight was measured in minutes, not miles. This untold piece of feminist history unveils Quimby's incredible story, rising from humble beginnings as a dirt-poor farm girl to become a globe-trotting journalist, history-making aviator, and international celebrity. With her tragic death in 1912 at the age of 37, her story faded with her many accomplishments. The first woman to fly solo over the English Channel among them, overshadowed by major events, including the sinking of the Titanic. With black and white illustrations throughout, Fearless is the definitive biography of the first licensed female American pilot, one of the most inspiring hidden figures of history. In September, we'll read Flight Path of Fortitude by Olga Custodio. From a young girl with dreams to a trailblazing aviator who shattered barriers, Flight Path of Fortitude is a memoir of perseverance, courage, and resilience. As the first Latina pilot in the United States Air Force and a pioneering Hispanic female captain in commercial aviation, Olga shares her extraordinary journey of overcoming obstacles and defying expectations through global experiences, personal growth, and the challenges of balancing career and family, offering insights on leadership, faith, and the power of never giving up. This inspiring memoir is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and a call to all who dare dream big and rise above limitations. Whether you're an aspiring aviator, a barrier breaker in your own right, or someone seeking motivation to chase your goals, Flight Path of Fortitude will uplift and empower you to fly. Where there is a will, there is power. In October, we'll discuss Catherine, the Wright Sister, a novel by Tracy Emerson Wood. She helped her brothers soar, but was the flight worth the fall? It all started with two boys in a bicycle shop. Wilbur and Orville Wright, both unsuited to college and disinclined to leave home, jumped on the popular new fad of bicycle riding and opened up a shop in Dayton, Ohio. Repairing and selling soon led to tinkering and building as the brothers offered improved models to their eager customers. Amid their success, a new dream began to take shape. Engineers across the world were puzzling over how to build a powered flying machine, and Wilbur and Orville wanted in on the challenge. But their younger sister, Catherine, knew they couldn't do it without her. The three siblings made a pact. The three of them would solve the problem of human flight. As her brothers obsessed over blueprints and risked life and limb testing new models on the sandy beaches of North Carolina, Catherine became the mastermind behind the scenes of their inventions. She sourced materials, managed communications, and kept Wilbur and Orville focused on their goal, even when it seemed hopeless. And in 1903, the Wright brothers made the first controlled, sustained flight of humankind. What followed was the kind of fame and fortune the Wrights had never imagined. The siblings traveled the world to demonstrate their invention, trained other pilots, and built new machines that could fly higher and farther. But at the height of their success, tragedy wrenched the Wright family apart and forced Catherine to make an impossible choice that would haunt her for the rest of her life. From international best-selling author Tracy Emerson Wood, Catherine, the Wright Sister, is an unforgettable novel that shines a spotlight on one of the most important and overlooked women in history and the sacrifices she made so that others might fly. In November, we have The Women with Silver Wings. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Cornelia Fort was already in the air. At 22, Fort had escaped Nashville's debutante scene for a fresh start as a flight instructor in Hawaii. She and her student were in the middle of their lesson when the bombs began to fall, and they barely made it back to the ground that morning. Still, when the U.S. Army Air Forces put out a call for women pilots to aid the war effort, Fort was one of the first to respond. She became one of just over 1,100 women from across the nation to make it through the Army's rigorous selection process and earn her silver wings. The brainchild of trailblazing pilots Nancy Love and Jacqueline Cochran, the Women Air Force Service pilots gave women like Fort a chance to serve their country and to prove that women aviators were just as skilled as men. While not authorized to serve in combat, the WASP helped train male pilots for service abroad and ferried bombers in pursuits across the country. 38 WASP would not survive the war, but even taking into account these tragic losses, Love and Cochran's social experiment seemed to be a resounding success until, with the tides of war turning, Congress clipped the women's wings. The program was disbanded, the women sent home. But the bonds they'd forged never failed, and over the next few decades they came together to fight for recognition as the military veterans they were, and for their place in history. And in December, we have Atmosphere, a love story. Joan Goodwin has been obsessed with the stars for as long as she can remember. Thoughtful and reserved, Joan is content with her life as a professor of physics and astronomy at Rice University and as aunt to her precious niece, Frances. That is, until she comes across an advertisement seeking the first woman scientists to join NASA's space shuttle program. Suddenly, Joan burns to be one of the few people to go to space. Selected from a pool of thousands of applicants in the summer of 1980, Joan begins training at Houston's Johnson Space Center alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates. Top Gun pilot Hank Redman and scientists John Griffin, who are kind and easygoing even when the stakes are highest. Mission specialist Lydia Danes, who has worked too hard to play nice, warm-hearted Donna Fitzgerald, who is navigating her own secrets, and Vanessa Ford, the magnetic and mysterious aeronautical engineer who can fix any engine and fly any plane. As the new astronauts become unlikely friends and prepare for their first flights, Joan finds a passion and a love she never imagined. In this new light, Joan begins to question everything she thinks she knows about her place in the observable universe. Then in December of 1984, on mission STS-LR9, it all changes in an instant. Fast-paced, thrilling, and emotional, Atmosphere is Taylor Jenkins Reid at her best, transporting readers to iconic times and places, creating complex protagonists, and telling a passionate and soaring story about the transformative power of love, this time among the stars. And that's the list. Going into 2026, my plan is to continue our monthly last Sunday of the month calls at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you or your local aviation chapter or organization would like to team up for a discussion on a different day of the month, let me know by the end of the preceding month so I can promote it to our audience, and I'll do my best to join the discussion. You can find the link every month in the Aviatrix Book Club Facebook group in events, or DM me or email me in advance and I'll send it to you. I want to thank everyone, our authors, our readers, our followers and listeners, our friends, for traveling along this journey through women's experiences in aviation with us. Here's to a magical first 5 years with many more to come. I'll see you in the discussions. Blue skies, happy holidays, and happy reading.